خزيان مغبة أنا إيفان رومينا جوناس. وديو إتلان بتباقى ب Pastor Jody Patrick Miller قد إلى داشت Grace Evangelical Free Church جأمان جوردن. Pastor Miller جوف جوردن بخانيم وروث أني 15 بخاينة شولا إلى خيارتا قا refugees قد من سوريا بيتاينا ومن العراق قد أطرايد جانا إنا خامندين refugees. عادي از اقتبخ ب Pastor Miller. Pastor Miller, welcome to ANB.
Thank you, Romina, for having me on your show.
Thank you. Pastor Miller, I have, for this interview, I have prepared several questions. And as you know, I am an average Assyrian woman living in the United States. And most of my questions will be from an average person's perspective. So can we, with your permission, can we start with the first question?
Sure.
What is the general condition of Assyrians in Jordan?
Well, they would tell you we're very tired. We speak mostly in Arabic there, and they say tabanin. We're all very tired. And what they mean by that, they're just worn out. They're worn down by the conditions. It's just a struggle for them to survive.
And what would be your best estimate as to the number of Assyrians who currently live in Jordan?
Well, the ones that we're taking care of, we try to keep a number, and so I would say there's about more than 100 to 150 families.
And my next question is actually, it's a combination of several questions. I understand that refugees are not allowed to work, own properties or cars in Jordan.
That's correct.
That's correct?
Yes.
And if so, how do they manage to survive and who provides for them?
Well, it's very difficult. It's a combination of sources, the churches being the main source, and then the UN provides a small stipend for them, which is used to be barely enough to cover their rent, but now with the influx of Syrian refugees, the rents have nearly doubled, so it's really a tough time for them now.
And how do they get around? They can't drive, are there public transportations, bicycles, or?
Public transport, bus, and there's services, shared taxis, walking.
Mm-hmm. Walking probably is one of the most common
Very
ones.
economical.
Are they being attacked or forced into conversion in Jordan as well?
Not in the sense that you hear of in other places. The population is 95% Muslim. And so there's a constant pressure from Islam, from taxi drivers, from people you meet to convert. But it's not, a gun to your head type situation.
Oh, good. We are told in the United States that our Assyrian women in Jordan are so poor that they are resorting to prostitution in order to provide for their families. Is that true?
I do not know personally of any cases of that happening. It is a very desperate situation. I cannot say it hasn't, but I don't know personally of any cases.
Okay. I understand that your ministry has had a surplus budget for Assyrians in Jordan. If that's the case, why are they maybe prostituting?
Well, maybe I can clarify that. We have two funds that we maintain for the Assyrians. One is for education, and for that fund, praise the Lord, we do have a surplus. But the other large need is for benevolent items, medications, hospitals, when we have the deaths, all the expenses that go into the burial, and of course food, blankets, many, many things. And that is where we have the great need.
How do Assyrians find out about where to go as far as if they want to contact you? How do they find out about you?
Well, in Jordan, we have a close community, and the people know each other. The Assyrians, most of them know each other. And we have some that are regular members of our church, and we have some that are irregular members, and then they also have their friends and families that are sort of an extended part of our family. And quarterly we have a special outreach, a fellowship to the Assyrians, and it's a church service in the Assyrian language. And so we try to spread the word when this is happening. Invite all your Assyrian friends, and we'll have a food box for each one that comes, for a little extra incentive. And so we try to keep our role current as to who new people that have arrived, old people that have immigrated out.
Are you in contact with Assyrian churches or organizations in Syria or Jordan or Iraq that may need your help, so they know where to send the Assyrians from refugees?
Well, we don't have a good channel. We have people that it's generally through the people. Many times when the people have relatives coming, they are in contact with them, and we have sometimes have apartments set up for them, and we're ready to receive them. Many we have had stay in our church building temporarily. So we do have a channel, but it could be better.
And I know Assyrians, we cluster together and we live next to each other. In Jordan, is there a special neighborhood in Oman that they get together, or they live, or are they scattered all over the place?
There's no one neighborhood. They're scattered, but there are some families that live close together. And there's one neighborhood that has a number of Assyrians, but you wouldn't say it's an Assyrian neighborhood exclusively.
And are there any Assyrian churches in Jordan?
Not to my knowledge.
In addition to Assyrians, are there any Armenian refugees as well?
Yes, there are.
And do you guys also support them? I'm assuming if they're refugees,
right.
you also do
right.
support them.
Our church is open to everyone, and so we have many Armenians, Chaldeans, Syrians, a variety of people. They all come together.
Wonderful. Do Armenians have any churches in Jordan? Do you know? Or organizations?
Organizations, yes. There's the Armenian embassy. I don't know of any churches.
You may not know the answer to this question, but I will ask it anyway. Do you know if Armenian organizations support Assyrians?
I'm not aware.
Now, how can the Assyrians living in the United States, Europe, Australia, or other parts of the world, how can we help refugees in Syria, Egypt, Middle East in general?
Of course, you should be in prayer daily. There's many things that are going on that are outside of my control and outside of everyone's control, so we just need to trust God on those things. There are organizations here in San Jose, for example, that are supporting the refugees financially, and a little later I can give you more details on that.
Pastor Miller, you as a non-Assyrian, how do you see us?
Well, that's a good question, Romina. This past Sunday, I preached a sermon at the Evangelical Assyrian Church here in San Jose, and my message was from Isaiah 19:23 through 25. And the title of the message was that this is your calling to be a blessing, you being the Assyrian people. You have a very special work of God ahead. You have a great heritage, and I'm just really in awe and just a fan of the Assyrians, and I'm not an Assyrian, but in that passage it talks about the special work that God has for the Assyrian people in the future. And he names 3 countries by name, and they're Israel, Egypt, and Assyria. And it says the 3 will be partners, and the purpose of their partnership will be a blessing to all the other nations. And I think that's just an awesome assignment, to have God assign you a specific task that you're to be a blessing to everyone. And so that's something you can look forward to. I don't have that calling. I'm not one of those 3 nations. I'm not Egyptian, I'm not Israeli, I'm not Assyrian. But you have that calling and that special assignment. And so I'm a fan of the Assyrian people, and I see a very generous nature already now in the Assyrian people, that they love to give, they love to help. And so I would just encourage your people, everyone out there listening, to take this serious, that God has a special work for you. The other thing is, from the past, I have talked to some of the Assyrian people, and they say, well, when I read the Old Testament, it's a little depressing for me. I see bad things, and the Assyrians were the bad guys many times. Okay, well, look at it this way. God was using you for his task. Many times that was maybe to punish Israel, but nonetheless, God was using you, and that's a special privilege. At the same time, there were many blessings. If you read between the lines, you see that when the Assyrians conquered the northern part of Israel, they took a large number of the people to exile into Assyria. And then there were people from Assyria and from the Asian countries were sent to replace them. They were swapped one for the other. And if you read, the Bible says specifically that the people that were exiled into northern Israel, they asked for someone to come and teach them the God of the land. They said that wild animals are coming and attacking us because we don't know the God of this land. And they sent a letter to the king of Assyria asking for help. And he sent priests back to teach them the Lord. And so through that, they came to know the Lord. And then through these people from northern Israel that were transported into Assyria, they also came to know the Lord. So for sure, there's been many blessings as well. And so if you're an Assyrian, you should really be proud of your heritage in a good way, and know that God really has used you and will use you, and hopefully is using you now.
So there is hope for us. We
For
should
sure,
not give
for
up.
sure.
Thank you. As a non-Assyrian, how do you see Assyrians? Do you think Assyrians are organized or disorganized? Do we have any power?
Right. Well, I've lived with the Assyrians since we came. We've been in Jordan 15 years. And so I don't know that I've really thought of that question. They've been my friends and my neighbors, and our children grew up with their children. One of my daughters speaks Assyrian just by playing with the other children. And so I haven't thought of that question. Certainly, they're not a large group, not well known in the world. So politically, maybe I would say not a lot of power. But, I'm a pastor. I'm thinking biblically as well, and I see the great heritage and Assyria being used by God in a great way through the past, and then even in the future, Assyria will have a great role in the future events. And so I can see why the Assyrians are very proud. They're very ancient and people that God has used in the past and will use in the future.
So biblically we are significant, and historically we are significant, but as far as what's going on right now, we have no political power or clout, or sometimes I personally wonder if anyone even cares about us as far as non-Assyrians.
Well, when we have groups come, we have many groups that come from the U.S., and when I tell them about our ministry, we have a very diverse group of people. And I tell them we have Assyrians in our church that speak Assyrian, and these are descended from the Assyrians of the Bible. Most of them are like, wow, I can't believe this. They've never heard this. They're not even aware of that this is, that the people still exist. It's a surprise to them.
Yes, actually, I went to Israel several years ago, and we went to one of the kibbutz there, and there was 25 Assyrians together. Several of them were over 70, 80 years old. And when the lady asked us who we are, we said we're Assyrian. She was shocked.
Wow.
And then she says, I thought you guys were dead, and I thought you guys were only in the Bible.
Right.
And we were shocked that she thought that. Now, are there any Jewish community in Jordan?
Not now. There used to be, and there used to be in Iraq and in Syria. There used to be many Jews. Mm-hmm. And there may be, but if they are there, they're in secret now. For the most part, they have all immigrated willingly or unwillingly to Israel.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if a Jewish community is, or Jews are sympathetic toward Assyrian? Are they our friends?
Well, I can't really say. I'm in Jordan, and I don't have regular contact with the Jewish people, but I will tell you a little incident that happened. We had some children go to Israel for heart surgeries. It was a humanitarian project. And while they were there in the hospital, there were Israeli citizens that had formerly lived in Iraq, and they came to visit the children, and they had formerly been neighbors of the children's parents, and there was a very happy reunion there at the hospital. But so that's a case of individuals where there was, some deep friendships there, but I can't speak on a larger scale.
Yes, I understand. When on one of my trips to Israel, actually, we went to a store and we ran into some Jews that spoke Assyrian fluently. In fact, we thought they were Assyrian until we were told that they weren't. And I was thinking, who do we go to ask for help? And I was thinking of which countries care about us, which nationalities care about us, who can we ask? We ask for help for Assyrians. And I thought, well, Jews been persecuted for many years, maybe they will be sympathetic towards us. And but I'm not sure about that. People have different perspective on that.
Right. Well, the refugees that we're working with in Jordan, it would be nearly impossible for them to go to Israel. This one project with the heart surgeries was a rare exception. For the most part, there's no way they're going to get to Israel. The ones we have in Jordan, and this goes for all the refugees from any people group, from the Christians to Muslims, they all get most of their help from the churches. And they're told by the UN maybe will help them a little. They say it's not enough. They say go to the churches. And they do. They go door to door to the churches.
And UN supports the churches. They support them financially.
They don't support the churches.
They don't support the churches
No.
at all. So they send them to churches, and then the churches have to go to people to get the money.
Correct.
And most Assyrians, actually most of us are not wealthy people. So where are they supposed to get the money from?
Right. Well, that's a story in Jordan. There's just not enough help to go around, and we're doing our best to help each family, especially the Christian families, but anyone that comes to us, we try to help them. Anyone that has a need, we try to help them.
Pastor Miller, I really appreciate answering most of my questions. I'm sure there are more that our audience would like to ask, but would you like to elaborate on your work in Jordan?
Right. We have, I think it's a very unique ministry. We have a mixture of many people that all are in the same boat. They're all refugees from one place or another, and they help each other. And they desire to help the other refugees. And so it really touches my heart when they want themselves to help. The Iraqis, for example, when the Syrian crisis came about, they were the very first ones eager to go and do something for them. And we went out to one of the camps at the border, and we met many people, and they were really touched. Their hearts were touched. Since then, the Syrians have all moved into our neighborhood, so they're all around us, and we have people on our doorstep every day. We don't need to go out anywhere to reach them. They're our neighbors at our church. But let me just say thank you for this opportunity to maybe share a little knowledge of the situation. The Assyrians are very kind people, and I just have a deep love for the Assyrian people. And so I'll say to you, Basima Rabba, Basimta Rabba. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And if anyone would like to help financially, the churches in San Jose are somewhat organized. They're working together as a team, and coordinating the effort is the Evangelical Church of San Jose, and that's on Carter Avenue. And we can get the address, I hope, for your viewers. And if they would like to help financially, they can send a donation to the work in Jordan, care of the Assyrian Church of San Jose, Assyrian Evangelical Church of San Jose.
Well, thank you very much for being with us.
Okay.
خزيان مغبة إن شاء الله مغبالو خون خرزت أوديو اگه بیاتون هایریتون بس مالو خون قریمون قا عمرت ونگلای گو سان هوزه بایتون زیز شادریتون رابا بخداخن اگر اتلخون پارسوپ آتورای گانن قد گو سوریا پیشنه یا بیانازی رفیجی بیانازی گو جوردن کمسیتون قاریتون اخرن انفورمیشنت پاستر میلر قطو خون بیه بخلون کمسی ازی تاما هایرت دابی اویتون را بسیمه انا ایون خانق و آتورتا لم بدای رابا بود پولیتیکه و لاز رابا یلپانه اتلی من تشئیتا کما داناتلا همزوم ون من پارسوپ پریش بود آتوراینگ سوریه امودی که ماسخ اودخ قهایرته خامنه مره چو شولاله ماسخ اودخ قطه مره خیلی ایل بیدت امریکایی مری پس ازق آل وایت هاوس کس امریکایی مرون پوپ و قاش و شماش خیشن آل وایت هاوس لینا بشرا خامن دیودی خمنه مره هویدای مرخوطانا اه دنیا مری ازق کس هویدای بلکت آنی خچار اودی قطن مرون هویدای که سانیلون آتورایه آنی چو مندی لیدی قطن خمنه مره ارسنای هایورنا قد دولت سوریه گرک من دانی هایرت طلبخ مری پس ازاخین کس ارسنای مرون چون اشلخ بدای گروسیا ارسنای لیدی چو مندی قطن خمنه مره خیلی ایل بیدت قردای مری ازخ کس قردای مرون قردای لی باییلان خمنه مره بس اخنن آتورای جم مخموداله های رخ قومتن مرون اخنن آتورای چودانه لی باشرخ جم مخس اوداله کلنتن بخیلخ کلنتن بایخ آوغ جورانه رابا منن هم طایوخ الخادرغ اللایا من شویو وخ جانن بطلاق وخ من شوی وخ من ایکا تی وخ مری بس چارا مویله خجواب هایرانا لشقلی خشلی العمرة طاوية بر چارا تبقلي بخاقعش امریکایه مشمیلی الخبرانو مره آتوراي همیشه بد آوی الارعا ماریا اغدت آها پاقودولا انا باین همینن الدا پقدانه اینا موتنیانه قا آها اخونی قدونا پرام ریشو اخنوخون تانی مولی اخونی قطق بیداق بددگانی سقیرالی للوات هجلت لیلی دمت آینی مسیالی